Earlier this month, I recorded two videos in a row. One where I was attempting to take a 2-day break from my computer games, possibly 3 days even, and one where I explained why I had failed. And I got a few remarks offline, not so much online, because people who watch my YouTube videos don't see my computer game writing activity nearly as much as the social circle that I have offline, and people are a little bit confused by it. They love my computer games, they think I love it, and I just want to make a quick video to clarify. Yes, I do love my computer games, and yes, I do hate my computer games. It's a weird relationship that I have developed with the computer games I'm writing over the last 7 years. I've been to 5 contests with the International Computer Gaming Association. I went to my first one in Yokohama in 2013, and then it was held in Leiden near Amsterdam for 3 years in a row. And then last year in my family's home country of Taiwan, which was very nice. And I started writing the computer games as a little bit of a coping mechanism. Actually, it's funny that we talk about coping now, because right now I'm having a little bit of a minor bump in my life right now. All of a sudden, it seems like I thought I had a lot of friends, and now nobody wants to talk to me all of a sudden. It's coincidentally. I mean, I don't think it was something I did recently or something like that. But coincidentally, 3 or 4 of my friends all of a sudden have gone radio silent, and I'm not sure what's going on. But I've been coping with that by writing a lot of computer games again. Well, what got me started 7 years ago was my grandpa had just passed away, and I was working on my PhD at the time. I was pretty much wrapping up, only correcting minor mistakes, and all of a sudden I get a phone call at middle of the night. My mother called me, actually, to tell me the story. My father was very busy. It was my paternal grandfather who passed away, and I all of a sudden I couldn't think. I would look at the computer screen and I would seize up. Actually, that's exactly what happened to me this past week as well, when all of a sudden I don't know what's going on. It's October 8th that I'm recording this. It's not like it's a holiday or anything. It's just a coincidence. And it was nice. I'll get to why it was nice later on, but there was a silver lining to it all. So my grandpa had just passed away, and I couldn't fixate on anything, and all of a sudden I wanted to dig out this computer game that I'd written 10 years earlier for a class project. It was pretty dumb level computer game, but I dug it out and I started changing a few things, and I just got tunnel vision into it because I didn't want to think about anything else that was going on around that time. I had a relatively close connection with my grandfather. I just couldn't imagine going forward without him. You know, I hadn't had a death in the family for up to that point 16 years. My maternal grandfather passed away in 1995, my paternal grandfather in 2011. Between then, I haven't had to deal with death very much in between those two events. Yeah, it was I blanked out, and I just, before I knew it, I had 2 pretty strong computer games, actually. And we went to my grandpa's funeral, and I almost missed the funeral. My uncle had allowed our family to stay at their apartment, and we were getting ready to go to the ceremony, and I was still tunnel visioned into my computer game. My brother was like, "Come on, let's go, we're going to miss the funeral." And I was like, "No, give me 5 more minutes." And then 5 more minutes later, I was asking for another 5 more minutes, and I got so fixated at the computer games, I said a few things that were very inappropriate, and eventually I went anyway, but I can't remember anything from that ceremony. It's very blurry right now, and as a result, the computer games were born, and eventually I got over my grandpa passing away, and I went to my first computer game contest a year and a half after that, and my first year and a half writing computer games, that was my entire life. I mean, aside from my work, I mean, I didn't have a girlfriend, and what else? I didn't have much of anything. I mean, I was driving a Buick at the time. I hardly put any miles on that car. I mean, nowadays I joke about how I orbit the Earth once every year in my car, sometimes twice every year. At the time, I you know, it was a different story. It was just games. I mean, and eventually I had more of a life. Unfortunately, when I think back at the time before I started writing computer games, I had a number of life events that I haven't been able to enjoy in the same way since then. I briefly talked about my first time with a major breakup with a girl, how I went to a coin show, and about the time when I took a road trip from Rochester, New York to New York City, also to another coin show in New York City. I had some events like that. I used to love to search coins. I collected coins. At one point I collected antique books, and I had a lot of just close friendships. I was at the time I didn't have a permanent home. I was living in my workplace, and I had a lot of acquaintances. Nothing really close. I didn't date again for almost a year after that breakup, and then a year later, after I'd broken up with this girl and went to the coin show. A year after that, I was at a conference in Boston, and I really enjoyed being single at the time. I was treating the conference in Boston as another single getaway, and my first day at that conference, just enjoying the good life again, when all of a sudden this girl sits down next to me and starts a conversation with me. I got really excited because at the time I wanted to move out of the United States. I was working on a problem called Ramsey theory, but there was no scholarship money involved in Ramsey theory. There's no funding involved there. And I was hoping to marry a girl from a cheaper country and move there and retire and work on Ramsey theory. Because I loved the field I was working on when I was working on my PhD. It was computational social choice theory. Oh, but I loved Ramsey theory too. Let's put it that way. Long story short, the girl, she was nice to know. She's not really future wife material. Now that we've gotten to know each other, at the time, another reason I want to leave the United States, and I still feel this way, is that Americans, this is my opinion, but Americans are just really rowdy. I mean, I went to a laundromat 2 days ago to do my laundry, and because I don't have a laundry facility, and I just kept getting distracted by all the motion of people just moving, like really huge, people who just move with huge kinetic energy. It's just crazy. I can't seem to relax when I'm doing my laundry or anything. When I go to a restaurant, come to think of it, I also visited the country that this girl was from, and I also did laundry there at a laundromat, and I didn't get the same sensation. People were much more orderly there, and it's just my opinion. Maybe it's my experiences, but I've been to Taiwan as well. And the other reason that I bring this up is because I feel we all learn from our surroundings, and I feel if I spent some time in Taiwan or some other place where people aren't so rowdy, it might help relax me a little bit, and maybe I might finally relax enough to take some time away from my computer games. Okay, let's talk about some other events I had before I started writing computer games. I used to love taking long distance walks. My parents and I lived in a suburb of Pittsburgh, and one night, just out of the blue, I took a walk from, we live just east of Monroeville, which is an eastern suburb of Pittsburgh. Out of the blue, I took a walk all the way to Indiana, Pennsylvania. This is roughly 30 or 40 miles away. It took me a night and the next day, and then into the next evening, so about 20 some hours to get to Indiana. And it's kind of funny because I was thinking back at the walk, and I remember it just being really bright. And I can't remember why it was so bright, because we don't have any big cities nearby, and so I went to online to look at the astronomical data, and sure enough, it was right next to the full moon. So I just have a razor sharp memory for stuff like that, because I remember most of the time when I do those long distance walks, it's completely dark, and I just remember it being quite visible that night. So I had a good time. I remember thinking as I was taking the walk that just trying to clear my head. At the time, I had some troubles with. I just finished the semester for school, and I was still my mind was still racing a million miles an hour from studying for the finals. And I remember just really clearing my head during that walk. And I got to Indiana. I spent the day there, going to shopping malls and just socializing with people. And then I took the bus back to Monroeville, and then I walked to a bakery that my mom was working at, and she took me home from there. I didn't have much on my mind. I wasn't writing computer games. I was involved in Ramsey theory at the time, but it wasn't a huge obsession. It was just something that was that I liked to do. I haven't ever. If you ask me about any of my memories since 2011, games are always in there. I can't think of a time where my head was completely clear of the games. That's why the love-hate relationship. I love that I've learned so much. I mean, I sometimes do some gigs with tutoring people in computer sites. Lots of examples I could give. I love it. What I hate is that I don't seem to have a life outside of the computer games. So a couple of days, this past week, or 2 weeks actually, all of a sudden, 4 of my friends all of a sudden go radio silent on me, including one just a couple days ago, and I am not sure why. Nothing has changed in my background in recent times. I can't pinpoint anything other than just a coincidence. I mean, I obviously have a lot of other friends besides these 3 or 4, and all of a sudden I'm burying my head in computer games, and it just makes me realize I used to have a much more colorful life. Coin collecting, long distance walks, bike riding, maybe some Ramsey theory, and then I would play with my younger brother. He's 13 years younger than me. I used to have a life that looked like that. Now it's games with a minor side of all these other little things, and I hope to change that. I mean, I still want to compete in the computer gaming contest, but I just feel life isn't as colorful as it used to be. And it's kind of funny because my first time taking a one-day break from the computer games was when I visited a friend in Gdansk, Poland. And I want my ashes to be scattered in Gdansk Bay when I die. And I sometimes wonder, maybe the next time I take a 2-day or 3-day break might be after my ashes are scattered back in Gdansk. So it's just such a coincidence that I always go there to take a break from computer games. Thanks for watching.